Hey, Chris, thanks for coming to this, our sales one-on-one here. Um, could you just give me a quick rundown of the high value deals in your pipeline right now?
Sure. Is it okay if I, share my screen
Yeah,
so that
that'd
we
be great.
can look at this together?
Uh,
Um,
hold
you
on,
know,
hold on. You're working four deals. I can see here. A couple of them look like they need decision maker. How, um, which ones are like, what's the most important one? How do I see that?
well, usually, I'm gonna lean towards the this one is 120,000. That's what that one's worth. So I'm always worried about, got a family to feed, so we want to bring those ones in, that
Okay.
high dollar amount.
Sure. The manufacturing is, that's a great segment. Like we love to serve those customers, obviously, of course. Um, but I see two in here. The AI readiness, which is, it's going to projected to close in August. Um, that's our number one priority for this quarter, that line of business. And revenue architecture, that one's, that's going to close in a month. That one's in commit. And that financial, Brightline is a target account, right? Like we've been talking about Brightline for, I mean, we targeted them in Q4 of last year, right? So
Has it
um,
been that long?
I mean, doesn't feel
I
like it
guess
with
so,
holidays and
because
everything.
everything's moving so fast right now.
Um, I mean, maybe click into Brightline Financial. I just want maybe like, do we have that designated as high priority? Is no priority field is empty. Okay. Well, look, could you do me a favor and just like set that to high priority, and then maybe same thing for Cascadia, and focus on those
Yeah.
um, for the rest of the month. Cool. Great. Well, good meeting. Let's talk to you in a week. Let me know if you need anything in the meantime.
All right.
Um, uh,
I'm not good
so
at being sales guy.
yeah, I'm not either. The so we just touched on several kind of important aspects of running the customer acquisition side of a business, right? And you zoomed in on revenue. We had a deal with a large amount in the pipeline, exceeded the, next closest by 30%. And that is obviously key to keeping a business operating, but also that a company has, I don't want to say non-revenue priorities, but maybe revenue supporting priorities that can be pretty diverse if you're being polite, or all over the place, or strategically aligned with what they're doing, and keeping eyes on that in the pipeline, both literally being able to look at your pipeline and know where do I need to be focused, and figuratively with reporting visibility in other places in the CRM and in the business is super important, right? The I don't know how many sales orgs you've interacted with, but uh, they seem to often get questions from sales leaders or execs or stakeholders across the organization that have additional needs or priorities, asking questions that take reps away from their work that are critical for the business to have answered, right? Like if the supply side of the business or the service side of the business needs to forecast or know, like, hey, how many of our AI readiness, how many AI readiness deals are we going to projecting to close this month? they should be able to get that answer from the CRM, not from asking the sales leader who needs to ask their reps and then can provide an answer. And those, all of these things are typically not best served by having a single property for each possible dimension on a deal, and then trying to get the reps to know to like, oh, check these 9 things off because these are the things that we need to be able to do to know what's going on. That's
Yeah.
never going to happen. A lot of that stuff isn't automatable or is managed somewhere else in HubSpot, and getting it onto a deal would require automation to twiddle one of those 9 properties, right? Like we talked about target accounts. That's a feature in HubSpot. And if we want to surface in reports or a record view or a pipeline view, hey, this deal is associated with a target account. We don't want to set up also a is target account checkbox on a deal and have a workflow check that off when when the deal is associated with a target account, or have to burn Breeze credits to have Breeze do it for us, right? So these are great opportunities to come in and consolidate complexity using deal tags.
Right. And what's coming to mind, this is definitely where like the architecture, like once you decide, you have to decide that you want somebody to have this kind of view, I think. And you're kind of moving complexity to the right spot where the team doesn't have to feel it, but the complexity is handled in a way that it creates simple views for quick understanding, and in ways that's like what we just did to label those high priority, right? Like I can't, like I just refreshed my page. There's nothing on here signaling that these these two are high priority, even though
Right.
I just made that change, right? And then the other thing that comes to mind is often the disconnect between marketing and sales comes down to strategic priorities, like for the organization,
Yes.
right? And when you're asking a team, and this is for an active client right now, there's a disconnect between what the plan has been for lead scoring, right? And the marketing team wants to like capture all these different facets, but then you have the sales leaders that like, yeah, that it doesn't matter. Like stop worrying about that part. Like we don't care if there's activity over there because that's not a focus of the business right now,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And those are both fantastic uh, illustrations of this complexity issue. The strategic alignments, strategic priorities change hopefully quarterly, right? You have some that last a year or longer, and you have some that last a quarter. Maybe you have some that last a month. Like if strategy typically takes longer to execute than a month, that's more like a project than a strategy necessarily. And so the if those things change, do you want to like re-architect your CRM on a quarterly basis, or every time you have a new strategic priority or initiative going on, you're going to add a bunch of drop downs across everything to be like, yes, this company is involved, or yes, this product is or is not a strategic priority for this quarter, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah. This is where
And
like you let sales, it's for like the right kind of sales energy where you want them participating at this level could go in the wrong direction because they're just like, okay, we're going to use this priority like functionality, or we can just add this new target market field because that's what we're targeting.
right,
And then next quarter comes along, we'll just ask RevOps, RevOps, anybody who's looks like this, they might be high priority right now, but if they are, can you make sure to change them all to low priority because we're not targeting them anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's an area where um, one of the things that I like to say to clients is the opposite of what most internal leaders say. They say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And I say, don't bring me solutions, bring me your problem, because your job is not to try to figure out how to implement something in the systems that we use. Let me figure out how to connect your problem to the larger strategic priorities and things that we're focuses initiatives, and then roll it into implementation. Right? Don't get bogged down on like, oh, we need a drop down for this or that. Even the like priority high, medium, low drop down is it's a great way for a rep to be like, this is a deal that is high priority to me for whatever reason, because I see, right, like they're on the cusp of really accelerating this decision because of X, right? All of these things that are hard to systematize. That's not great for the examples that we've given here, right? Of like, hey, RevOps, can you like toggle all, you know, uh, businesses in the Northwest to high priority because we need to we got to get that territory back up to pacing to goal, right? Ugh, mess. But
All right, we'll build the workflow, and then if zip codes are here,
right. Oh, a
uh,
bunch of these don't have zip codes and they have multiple locations. And so, like, is it if headquarters is in the Northeast, but they have a facility in the Northwest, does that count? Oh, let me ask. No, it doesn't. Right. And then it's been 4 weeks and EOQ is in 2 weeks. And it's like, well, great. That didn't help. Right. Um,
and
and
then the salespersons are like, "Oh, it's good. I got it in my spreadsheet.
yeah,
I've been having calls
exactly.
this whole time while you guys are trying to figure out."
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And like RevOps, bless them, they want to help, but they never can. And they always ask me all these questions I don't want to deal with. Like I have calls to make. And throw on top of that, like the, the, the team alignment, right? That need different things in different places. Doing this with deal tags, which we'll get to here in a second, gives us like both power and flexibility to address these things. But the little role play we did there at the top of the call, the 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 thing that I love hearing from clients is, can you show me, right?
Yes.
And it's really painful if it's like, can you show me how to, like send a marketing email? It's like, oh, it's not really painful. Clients, I love you. It's just like, okay, yes, like transactional, like, okay, here you click here, you click here. But it's like, oh, can you show me can you show me all the deals associated with target accounts? Oh boy, can I. That's great, right? Because the you've got to elicit those, and I promise every company has 50 requests like that they've just buried and forgotten about, and they deal with because they tried to figure it out for themselves and couldn't, or asked their admin and gave up after like a bunch of questions back and forth via Slack or whatever. And it's like they sent me a list, or they ask Breeze and Breeze gives them a bullet list. And it's like, no, I wouldn't need to see it all the time. And the every single one of those things is a request to make the CRM work how they work and how the company works. And I
Right.
mean, oh my gosh, if that isn't the secret to getting the machine running effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the difference between those questions, like, can you show me how versus can you show me?
Right.
Like, right? Like the how is naturally, like, again, I say it in almost every content now, like, you have to stay away from the tools based conversations. And when somebody's asking how, it's guaranteed to be like tool based. And when, so then it turns into this possibility of you're focused on the how and the why, because it's like, oh, why do we have to do it like that? It's like, well, we're in HubSpot and it works like this. Instead, if it's the what and the where, like show me what, like show me this thing. I just need to see this and I need to know where to go to see it. Like if that's
Right.
you can capture that, then it's like, okay, I hear you. Let me build that out or let me design that so that it's going to be like surprise, it's going to be in the same space like you're used to going. We're not going to ask you to
Right.
open up 5 different tabs, which is what they're used to, which is why they start where they start usually,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. And people love, I'm really needling people today. People love to talk about the difference between like, well, this is RevOps or AI Ops versus just being a CRM admin, and those are true. Who cares? Think everybody relax. But the it's the difference between being like an order taker and being somebody who is like co-creating, participating in creating value with the business or the client, which is the like, hey, how do I see or where do I, or how do I send marketing email? Those have like discrete finite answers. You go to marketing, you go to email, there's your emails, right? Um, and being able to ask to turn that conversation into I'm trying to accomplish outcome. What's the best way to do it? And also, like those are two different conversations. And then there's a like even deeper thread of that second conversation where you push past outcome of like, oh, I'm trying to send a marketing email to all customers who existing customers who then had a new opportunity last quarter that went to close lost, right? That's an outcome. And you can push that even harder to say like, right, but what are you trying to accomplish? And sometimes what you're trying to accomplish is like, my boss told me to do it. I don't know. It's not going to work, right?
All right. When can we talk to the boss?
Right. Or it's like, okay, well, I'll help you. Like, well, let's check this off the list for sure. But we now know that this isn't something we need to operationalize. It's a one off.
Yeah.
Or there, maybe there is actually a metric, a business outcome associated with that. And we can walk from that goal back to, well, is that the best way to accomplish it? Right. Like, if the fixed mindset of like, oh, well, we send an email out in a certain number, even to existing customers, if those end up converting to an opportunity and whatever. So if they're like, we're trying to get back on pace to a revenue goal, within, and it's an existing business revenue goal. It's like, okay, great. We'll send an email, whatever. But like, let's talk about if we should be doing something else in addition to or instead of that, and how we put together a total solution for what we're trying to accomplish here, not just like, load up the bow and like shoot an arrow, shoot an arrow, shoot an arrow, and like, yeah, maybe one might hit the target. Like, let's take a little bit more of a measured approach here. Now we're really ranting,
So speaking of deal tags,
getting away from deal tags. So let's talk about how to come back and focus all of that complexity on what a high priority or high value deal looks like. So we're going to go into pipeline settings again, and our goal here is to be able to represent on using a deal tag on deals in a pipeline, a priority status like that. So once again, we are looking at our deal tags, but instead of just be able to add from here, you have to click Manage Opportunity in our UI because it's been renamed. That would say Manage Deal Tags if you had a default name for that object. HubSpot, please stop making that 2 clicks. And go ahead and add a tag. We're going to create from scratch again. So first thing we need to do is decide a name. I typically, I'm giving away my secrets here. I usually start this conversation by saying to clients, we need to identify high value deals in the pipeline because that tricks them into thinking like, oh, we're going to like make it really easy to spot deals with an amount above a certain threshold. Um, and so I will often like put high value, or like value prefaced with like a up arrow emoji or something like that. But we are going to use, so you can use whatever label, priority is one if you can actually get away with people admitting from the beginning that there is it makes sense to have visibility into deals that are not just considered high value because of amount. And then light green will read a lot easier with these new saturated tag colors, which I do love. And you can constrain it to pipeline. We don't need to for our demo. For description, just something human readable that makes sense. This deal meets one of our definitions of high value. And if you want to maintain it or whatever, you can enumerate them there. But this is one of those areas where oftentimes a good name obviates the need for the description. And so let's go ahead and add filters. Now, this is where we encode all of that complexity. So go ahead and add a filter, and we'll put a couple of like no-brainers on here. And so we're on the opportunity/deal object. So go ahead and pull, opportunity priorities, and let's throw amount. It's right there at the top of the list, just for the sake of argument. Let's say amount is greater than 100,000. If that, and obviously this is pipeline business product dependent, but having a tag that surfaces among other things like, hey, this is in the kind of top band of our expected revenue. And so if we are, reverse engineering from, if it's end of quarter and somebody's asking like, look, what deals do we need to push over the line? You're there's gonna be a spotlight shined on all the ones that are in your top band, right? So now we're going to add some of our other conditions. So hit an or condition there, and to go properties again. And we haven't discussed this one yet, but this is a classic. Assuming that we manage this well, search for probability, and let's put deal probability greater than or equal to 90%. Because we do not want to drop the ball on these.
On the goal line.
Yes. And now add another or clause, and we're going to go property opportunities again, and we're going to hit our priority property that we used earlier. So that shortcut, right? So like doing this promotes that property on every deal to the rep's best friend, right? Like, and I can hear your objections. Some people aren't going to use it. That's fine. Some people are going to put every single one to high. That's fine too, right? The more powerful a tool it is, the more dangerous it is to hurt yourself. But when they look at their pipeline or do a one-on-one with their sales leader and they're like, why is every single deal in your pipeline high priority? And they're like, well, because I want to close them all.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It'll work itself out.
Accountability is good, folks. Like, because if you don't do this, then they just go around the system and start creating their own lists so that they are clear on what their high priorities is.
Yep. Or they just ignore the high priority tag because they can't use it to put everything in, right? The whole point of this is it combines both of those things.
Yeah.
All right. So let's add another clause. And we need a company association from our dropdown at the top of the list. We're going to go for target account. And so account properties and is target account. There you go. Target account. is equal to true. So now if the company is associated and they are designated as a target account, it will get it. And let's go add. We talked about product and industry, so let's add those as well. And this is now we're getting into an example of where these are clauses. Company again is what you need. We're getting into the case here of industry, and so like let's say for Q2, whatever. What did we say? Finance. So search for finance. Let's say finance is a Q2 priority. So we add this to the deal tag. And then if next quarter it's something else, then you come in and change this, right? And all of the financial services drop off and all of the new industry come on unless they've been
Automatically.
right, unless they have the revenue or high priority set already, then they remain high priority, right? That's why we're designing it this way. And let's do the last one. We need a line item, so we're going to go back to our filter list, or you can go there. I think the I never do it that way. We're looking
Because
for
you never could.
we're looking for skew. We all yes. Can we do skew there? I do deals associated with a line item because then you add the line item. Yeah, so that looks like it produces the same clause. So skew contains. Your skews are
Yeah, that's right.
just add boot camp. All caps is how it is in your portal. I think these are not case sensitive, but heaven knows. All right, so and change the drop down to contains. All right, and then go ahead and finish out our. You've got to know yeah. So go ahead and finish out your tag creation.
And so we see uh, example at the top here.
Yep.
Can review.
And review your clauses.
And again, just to kind of reiterate, like these three, I mean, honestly, this is the only one that's close to guaranteed to being like reliable
to have a
in
value set every time.
Yeah, any portal you go into, there's a starting point that it's going to exist, and the team probably relies on it in some capacity. But then, like you said, like do your probabilities actually matter?
Right. And what the nice thing about deal probabilities is you get some of that for free if they haven't done anything to their pipeline. So you can squeeze a little bit of extra juice out of that. And if they have been thoughtful about their priorities and or the reps set those priorities, it works even better.
Yeah. And I'm having an ongoing conversation with Riley Powell about when you're trying to encode complexity like into the CRM, into scores or the things that try to simplify the complexity underneath it.
Right.
Right. Like how good does the data need to be? And my argument is like, because chances are the data is not good. But doing this for the first time with all these factors will help teams very quickly start to be like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because it's showing this and it's not the industry that we want, but like creating these different variables that let you play with, how these things show up. Because I know that like there's only one, financial services here. We picked one industry,
Right.
right? And if it doesn't show up, like if it doesn't get highlighted or the one I want to see doesn't show up and or more get highlighted than was expected,
Right.
it's not an all or nothing thing. And now we can be like, okay, why did that happen? Oh, this thing's not associated or this thing isn't labeled right. And it's a much safer place to have a conversation about what needs to be cleaned up instead of like, oh, our whole like we just need to start over and we just need to get clean to make any of this work, right?
Yeah, and some of that is like they have no um, admins. All of us, like, we know the system so in depth. We know what's possible, what's not possible, what's easy, what's hard, and the people that we serve in our clients and organizations kind of do, but they have a different job to do. They have different things taking up their mental and emotional space throughout the day, and some people love to know all of the sales. I've had sales reps who love to know all the little ins and outs and what it can do for them and how it can streamline, what it can make it better, and sometimes they just want to fiddle all the knobs. But if you have no idea what's possible, and then you get deal tags in your pipeline, that opens the door for people um, to have more agency in how these tools work for them, right? Like, oh, I had no idea this was possible. Why is this one high priority? Before they were like, just like whichever one I get an email from, I go work that deal right now, and then I make sure I call everybody every week or whatever their process is. But seeing a high priority deal tag on a deal and then wondering like, well, wait a minute, why is that one high priority? Can either be presenting them with capabilities they didn't know that could be there, or exposes a area to iterate for the system to be more valuable, right? Oh, that company, their industry is wrong. Is industry the best field even that we should use? That's like enrichment thing. We have our other property that we use for like that breaks financial services down. So like, can we do that? Wouldn't that be great? Like, yeah, let's talk about how we can make that work. So I snuck a couple of deal tags in on you while you weren't looking to
Yeah.
add additional dimensions to this. But we can see here now we can see that Brightline is both a high value deal and is a target account, right? And so like having some of the critical permanent dimensions, right? Like if you're using target accounts, if that makes sense for your organization, what that shouldn't be is a field visible on the company that nobody sees but gets set somehow and not surfaced other places. So we, in most cases, want both this is high value and it's a target account because those represent two distinct motions. And maybe it's a high value only because it's a target account, but both of those things need to be true because we're going to use this in other places. We're going to use it in reports, we can use it in automations, we can use it filtering lists, filtering index views, etc.
Yeah. And like the key is like the reps don't want to deal with any of those places that you just said, like the tools and like how did we get to here? Like, because that's what I see when working with technical admins that get really excited about the solution that it's come up with. Like we start saying things like deal tags and filters and like let's look at the 6 different filters that we put in to make this work for you. Like instead,
Right,
now we can have, so sometimes I say like explaining HubSpot without explaining HubSpot, right? Like we're using words here that they are using in their daily activity, right?
yes,
Decision maker, target account, high value, right? And we're inside of HubSpot, but you're not explaining HubSpot. You're
right,
explaining the process and how their day wants to go, right?
right. Yes, and these are we're 1 degree removed with the examples that we are using, but like we are trying to align how we are helping them and how the system works to support them with what they are trying to accomplish. Right. In this case, like I need to be able to focus on the deals that are the most important. And I need to know things about the deals in a split second when I am jumping in, right? A lot of these, a good rep is going to know that Brightline has the decision maker involved. And maybe they might remember, like, oh, Atlas, right? Like, it was 2 weeks ago. Like, what was it? It was spring break. Oh, his kid broke his leg. That's what it was, right? They were rock climbing, and so I got to deal with that. A lot of these are, we're not trying to, like, a decision maker is probably not going to get associated with a deal when a rep's not looking, right? Unless there's a split or whatever. But these are as much about the split second of purple target account is on that, right? That is reminding me, not telling me what's going on with that deal, right?
Yep.
It's the advantage of it not being buried in A, being buried in property, and B, being buried in property that I have to drill in to look at, and C, that I have to read the values, right? I get a split second, it takes me 0.1 seconds to understand. I just see the purple tag in that shape, and I am reminded about what's going on in that deal. And you can see our other high priority deal that we talked about at the top of the call, Cascadia, is identified as a high value deal, not because it's the highest dollar amount, but because it
It's got the boot
it's
camp.
got the boot camp. Our boot camp product is line item is associated with that deal. If you go ahead and open that up, you will see it, but I think everybody probably believes us. It was set to priority high. Do we have line items in the preview configured? There it is. AI Skills Bootcamp is associated with it, right?
Yep.
So all of this stuff, right, gives, how would you know? Let me ask it this way. How would you know which items in your pipeline have a given line item associated with it if you had more than 4 deals and your company uses products and line items, right? Like that boot camp might be on, like, let's just say you're working 50 deals at once, which is not uncommon. And that boot camp is on 20, 25, 30, and you get a directive of like, hey, for the rest of the quarter, let's push the boot camp, and we'll, we'll reduce it to 0 or we'll refund the boot camp amount if they go on to sign on for a retainer, blah, 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 something. Stuff happens all the time. Okay, great. How do I, hey, RevOps, then RevOps Slack lights up like a fall carnival of all the reps being like, hey, how do I find all of my deals that have boot camp on them, right? Instead of trying to remember or page through or open.
And if you're not using deal tags, what's the first go-to of RevOps when they ask that question?
Um, probably I would guess, depending on the person, I would guess that they either go to a segment or they go to a report, or if or they create a index page view of deals that is derived from a segment of deal has line item associated. And all of those things then at the end of the quarter are things that you have to remember to clean up if you do.
Yeah. And it's an additional place that's now in a different context. Like the point is that we need to see it inside of the context of the rest of my workday.
Right.
Right.
And hopefully without making it a lot of work for me every time, right? Like every time I go, it's like, oh, I got to go click. I got to add the view, whatever that means. And then I got to go click into it every time I'm going back through and making calls or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you've like, hey, John, this is how you create your own view. So whenever you want stuff like that, right? And then we complain, we're RevOps, we're like, God, it just created 100 views. and they
Right.
don't use any of them, right?
Right. And there's my deals dash one, my deals dash two, my deals dash three. Or, like the, uh, uh, everybody have some empathy for your users. And I've been there. I know it's so hard, but it's like, oh, I want to play with a model of an F4 Phantom. And the RevOps is like, here's a model kit. Here's the glue. Here's the paints. Like, it's going to look so good once you've created your views and like filtered everything and like whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, man. Thanks. And then set it on their desk and they never touch it
And
because
then
they're
they
not
build.
asking to be able to construct. They're not like, I want to
Yeah,
build the thing. They're like, I have calls to make.
yeah. And like while they're making those calls, because they know how to use Excel, they put just as much, if not more, energy into building out these crazy spreadsheets
Right.
because they know how and they know what
Right.
the outcome's going to be. And they know it's their spreadsheet, so nobody else is going to possibly see it. And
Yep.
just all these things come into play where it's like, it is a balance that you need to find where how much do you enable your users? Um, but knowing that they're not going to find their way to deal tags usually. And if they do, they're going to max out 70 and they're all
Yeah.
going to be based on like one filter, right?
Right. Yeah. One for every property value.
Yeah. And then they're going to, and then, and then they're going to do the work to make sure those properties are completed. But then, like, for how long do they do that, right?
Yes.
Especially when they start doing separate things. So again, I think this is a HubSpot. I feel like has done a really great job here of making it possible. But again, like HubSpot, the software, or usually the people inside the company, because they don't know all the different businesses of the world and they don't know all the different markets, they cannot do this for you out of the box,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
So hopefully, this was helpful today. I'm glad we kind of took a little detour here because this getting this right, guess what happens next? The handoffs when you do win deals, like get easier. And now you're just set up. Everybody's set up for the rest of the journey, like so
Yeah.
well, right? Um, and now we can start using tags in those other places too, wherever you're managing those post sales
Yes.
activities.
Now that we have
Please,
tags
please,
across
Lord,
pipelines.
yeah,
Yep.
and please don't let it be inside of the deals because we did our job there. Now we're going to use other objects
Yes.
that don't manage sales for that purpose. But yeah, I'm glad we got to do this, and I look forward to next week when we get back on the value path, and we'll be looking at the value creator stage, which is where we go after the value's been activated in a deal. Most people would know this as the customer stage. In our value path, we call it the value creator because the whole thing is the customer journey. So I look forward to diving into that with you.
Yep. Sounds good. Back on the path.
Indeed. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.